Welcome back, everybody. We are here again in our beautiful wheat field, and today what we are doing is we're going to be finding out how we get water to this field, sorting out a problem that we've definitely got. There is the river now in place. That's not the way we're going to be doing it. We actually got something else planned, and we've got it planned for this rock, which is more than just a rock, and I know it will be very good for this to be gone. It'll it'll definitely be quite the hit with this rock being all complete and all finished. But we've got some cool things to show you guys that have happened since the last episode. So what I've been busy with is just trying to slowly but surely work this river into this and work this slightly into the fields, because there was some pretty good constructive criticism on the last episode on how this field was looking, the harvested field, and I was kind of trying to think about how we could perhaps work it in. And one of the things was that the wheat was just a little bit of a different color to the ground, and it was not quite working. I'll show you what I've done there, but let's go have a look at the river right now. So this is the river. This is the kind of thing I was going for. I don't really like the way that is looking right there right now, but it gets you the idea. And in fact, 1.13 coming around will change a lot of these things, so we don't have to mess too much around with it. But I've gone ahead and I've just gone and used some little pieces around here to merge this into the water, make sure this was a bit lower than that area there. I feel like it works pretty well. In fact, the flowing river is something that I've always wanted to get to work, and there's actually quite a bit of stuff that I've learned from just doing this little piece right here. So hopefully we'll be able to do some cool stuff. Also, I feel like I should put a hopper down here just as like a makeshift squid farm, because they tend to do that pretty often. I've got quite a bit of ink around the place. So I'll quickly go show you the area that we have been trying to do a little bit of texturing with, and of course also just a few of the things that I've been trying to do to get this place to work with, and then we can get going on the real deal stuff for today, which is, it's going to be good. It's going to definitely be different, but it's going to be fun. So what I've done is I've gone ahead and I've tried to clear out a bit more in here. You can see there's a few little spots like there, for instance, where there is a bit of path block slowly merging its way into there. I think that does a good job of blending them, because before it just looked really hard. So that was a pretty good thing. The other stuff is I've added a few more, just here and there, a few more things around the place, a few more dirt blocks and stuff, just to make the path block look a little bit darker and also break it up a little bit. But there's one other thing that I've done recently, and I'm just testing it out, honestly. Just trying to see how it looks, and that is right around here. Just, well, I can display it to you right here. Everything looks like it might have a bit of shaders. I don't know if you can tell. It looks like there might be some shadows over here. That is because I'm testing out something which I've always wanted to, but I've never really done it. Is playing around with brightness below completely bright, going down to about 40. Because normally, I mean, moody brightness, it gets pretty dark. But I thought somewhere in the middle, and we can maybe move it around, that could be kind of cool. So I'm playing around with this brightness level because it does make such a difference. And I'll show you one of the places that it makes quite a big difference for me, at least, is where the shadows of the trees lie. Because a lot of the time these trees, they get a really big shadow, or they get no shadow at all. But here you can see, when you've got this middle ground, you've got this nice little shadow that comes around here. When I do one of these, like that, the shadow's practically gone. When I do this here, you can definitely see the shadow. You see what I mean? In fact, that looks awesome, the moody brightness for that. So I thought we would give it a go. Maybe let's just have a look indoors, and I'll show you why it's so cool as well. So this is full moody brightness right now, and go inside. Look at that. It just gives it this awesome vibe. I love it. I wish I actually have played with this for a longer period of time compared to what it used to look like. Probably a bit easier to see, but honestly, it looks so much better like this. I'll go to 40, so it's sort of in between. You can see better, and also it's got the nice shadows on it. There we go. The rock's done. We've cleared it out. I'm sure a lot of people are quite happy right now, but we've got more stuff. Now, this is probably going to be one of the more unexpected things, but the rock kind of went, and this was the area left below it. Kind of crazy, I know, but this is how we're going to be sorting out any water issues that we have, at least for moving water up to the top. Originally, I thought water would be fine where it is, but my thought is going to be here that there is water around this area. There's a lot of rivers. There's actually the ocean not too far away, but the rivers running through here is what I thought would be the way that this land would be irrigated. And this particular one will be an underground river that's just running through here, and I'll show you exactly what I'm thinking. Exactly what I'm thinking. Let me just perch myself up on this tree. This major river here, this one's actually been filled up a bit more than a normal height is. And by the way, ignore that. It's not finished yet. But as we're going through here, there will be a spot where this will dip underground, and continue on an underground path around here, which I thought would be a pretty neat little thing. Some streams that run below, kind of like, I think it's bore water that goes through underneath, and farmers take advantage of that. So I thought we may as well go ahead and try something out like that. Besides, it also gives us an excuse to have like a completely different area under here that doesn't even relate to this part at the top here. Probably something you won't see, but if you went to go explore, it's pretty cool. You know, if you went exploring through the world, you'll be able to come across some pretty cool place here. And this will eventually be covered over, by the way. So today what we're doing is we're going to get started on getting this place looking the way we want it to look underground. And I've dug out, as you can see, the Haste 2 is with us. I've dug out a pretty large chunk of this, and now the next thing will be to get this thing to look a bit more like the inside of a little bit of a cabin where water has rushed through, and from that direction there, rushed through, and maybe taken out a big chunk of stuff, carried it on along the way. I think that could be a pretty cool thing. And not to mention just gathering up here. So, of course, the first stages for us to do is just to... Actually, do I have any andesite? You know, I might use this as an opportunity to get a bit of a change in texture over there. Yeah, get some andesite instead of this granite. But we may as well go through and just start fixing up the shape of it. Because, of course, the standard sort of thing, how it looks when you take it out, it looks very repetitive. Look at that. All those look exactly the same. Big straight line there, big straight lines here. We're going to try our hardest to make this look a bit more like this almost, with a bit of cobble, a bit of textures, just get the shaping right, because that's one of the most important things of it. Then what we're going to do is we're going to get the river coming in here, and I think this kind of an area seems like a place where a lot of life would be growing on the top and on the bottom. It's going to have a lot of water, a lot of nutrients getting pushed down the river. I think it makes sense for us to have this. And in fact, as far as I'm aware, a way that people used to find where underground water streams and stuff were, was purely by the stuff that was above the ground and growing around the area. Because, of course, trees tend to be pretty good at that, you know, gathering the stuff from below. So that's the idea, at least, behind it. And I think that's always a good thing, to have a little bit more thought to our world than we normally would put in. For instance, hey, I want to build a stream. I want to build this. Maybe give a reason for a stream, you know? That's a pretty cool thing. And this area below us here, and I'll show you what I've done over at the other river really quickly. I'll just quickly have a look. I think there's still a patch. Yeah, there's a patch of diorite there. Well, that's a nice easy one. Done. Perfect. All right, so they're gone. A bit of granite there. I can get rid of that pretty quickly. All right, so let's go over to the river right now, quick. And this over here, I've been messing around before, of course, before we get the super cool blocks which we can put underwater. Going through with something like this where we use a heavy amount of andesite, cobblestone, and there we go, gravel, along with a bit of mossy cobble, tends to work very, very well. Even this like clay over here, you can use clay, transition slowly with a bit of stone and andesite into some cobble and all that sort of stuff, and it seems to work very, very well. So those are the blocks we're going to be using for the bottom, but I thought what could also be kind of cool was to put some colors in here, because it's going to be away from the place. I want to start getting a little bit of maybe, I don't know, crystal looking things. We'll see how we go, but it would be awesome to get something that looks a lot different to your standard sort of place. I want to really go crazy with it. And besides, of course, it's not going to be visible, you know? It's going to be underground. It can be slightly magical. I don't want it to be, but it could be. So we could maybe think along those lines. So, of course, if you've got any ideas, I'd appreciate them. Always do. And it would just help overall with this area if there were things that I didn't think of, at least, that someone else thinks of, and we can make it work, you know, make it colorful, make it a bit more lively, because that's always good. It's always cool. It's really neat when we do get some cool ideas in from like comments and stuff into the world. It's always neat, because you always look at it and you're like, hey, that was, I guess if you made the comment, you're like, that was my comment. And if not for me, I'm like, hey, I remember that comment. So it's always cool that way. So here we're just going to probably do a little bit of stuff to try and get the roof on. I'm not going to actually cover the roof up completely just yet, because we may as well use the light while we've got it. And in fact, the moody brightness is going to go fantastically in here, because once we've got this area in, we'll have very minimal light coming through here. So you'll get that little bit of a glimpse of light coming through from the top, maybe one or two hidden sources of light, just for the sake of having a bit of hidden light in here. Maybe we can have them as kind of like little glowworms or something like that. That'll be kind of cool. So we can go ahead and mess around with that. I just wanted to get this roof. Maybe we'll do like a crossover as well, just to get that right, and we'll leave the roof mostly open. As far as magic is concerned, I think we won't be adding that into here, but I thought it would be a cool little thing to think about, adding into places around the place. It's a good way to get a bit of color in the builds, but this is what we currently got. Now, bear in mind, this is going to be a lot darker. When we start getting these sorts of things in the roof and a few other things into it, it's definitely going to start changing around. But for now, what I want to do is I want to go through this little progression over here. We've got some of this terracotta. Look at that. Look at that nice little range that we got going on there. I want to test out how that will work for us and see if it does work. I mean, of course, there are some reasons why I'm doing this, and I think it'll be quite evident, hopefully. The most important one, of course, is to just get a bit of natural color in it, besides the gray. But also, think about underground. Think about places. In fact, I have not done a very easy job here for myself, but that's fine. But when you think about places like this, there's always a lot of dirt. There's a lot of stuff along those lines, like, as I say, like dirt and mud and things like that. So maybe getting a bit more of this in here, making it a bit darker as well, will do wonders for this. So how about we get a little bit of that in over there? We'll put in a bit of these. Yeah, underwater you can't really tell. So we'll do something like this here. And as a block to really kind of merge in with the other blocks, I was thinking a bit of this. And it's kind of weird, I know. It's a very strange thing. But I think this is what we're going to have to try out. Stuff like that. Yeah, maybe a little bit more brown. I'm not against this completely. You know what? This is an opportunity for us underground here. This is a place we don't see very often. So it's definitely an opportunity for us to mess around with weird things like this sort of color. These sorts of textures. Make it different. In fact, this hardened clay is something I don't think I've ever really found too many uses for the grays and stuff, and really they're the most useful ones of them all. And I think this is actually good. I think this is working very well. Maybe we can try a little bit of this. I thought this could be something. For some reason, people always tell me, you know, brown concrete powder, and I never listen. But you know what? I know it's probably going to come up. Yeah, that actually works, and I'll show you why this works. Because remember, this is not meant to be blending in. Now, if you come from the perspective of this should be blending in with this, not exactly, but sort of, but not exactly. It's not meant to be necessarily the case, but it should be the dirt that kind of washes up through the water as it's traveling through here. Now this is where I was thinking we could get some cool stuff in here, and really what would hopefully make the color in this place, because we needed a few things. We needed color and we need the shape. Those are the two main things that I want in here. A good shape. I think we've got a fairly good shape. It's going to look as if water has pooled down here. I want to try something else out as well to try and make it look like there's different sediments of water in here. So over time, certain pieces have got a bit more, they're a bit more washed through. The rock will be a little bit different. And I think we could maybe try that with a bit of texture, but we'll see how that goes. But there we go. The podzol actually seems to work quite well in there. So the reason I want a podzol is because we can plant dead bushes on here. This is like a weird little thing, but dead bushes can't be planted on anything like, I mean, even grass. Grass can't take dead bushes. That is weird. I was not aware of them being able to be planted on all these other clays. I could have sworn I once tried this. So maybe this is a more recent update, but I recall a time in my last world not being able to put them on any other of the hardened clays except for the plain hardened clay. So maybe that's changed. I definitely do recall that issue, but that's fine. We'll put a dead bush in there. And the reason was just having a little bit of a dead bush makes it a little bit more of a different color. But then we can go ahead and pop some of that in there, a bit of grass. In fact, we can try our first thing of getting a bit of color in. And I was thinking the orchids are probably some of the best things to get color in. And just bear in mind, this is a small area that we are touching right now. Yeah, that's looking good. So I'll carry on a bit with this. Let's try work this out, because there's always a reason why we're doing things the way we do in them, and I think this is one of those moments where it's a good thing to think about where we're putting things and how we are. Because honestly, I'm kind of learning this myself. What I want to do is I want to try get in the sediment on here, being the place where stuff kind of settled, like the dirt and the rock, and I think that could be a very, very good moment to try and get in a bit of the acacia logs like this. And this is where it gets a bit tricky, because it may or may not work, but it's worth a try, most certainly. So let's go back right here. It looks a little bit too wooden. Like, it still looks very, I understand it sounds silly, but it just looks very much like a log in there. But maybe if we get a bit more of this stuff. In fact, let's... Yeah, the sun's going down, but we've still got a bit of time. Let's try getting this stuff over here a little bit more so that we can maybe mess around with it. Because it's the fact that this is a different gray to this stuff here. So if we can maybe just distract from it with... In fact, cyan could go well here. There, and just fill up this wall a bit. In fact, yeah, we'll just do that for now. Let's go back. Come on, get me out of the water. Yeah, that's definitely a place which we can work on. There's certainly room for improvement on it, but it's definitely something a bit different to what we're used to. And I hope this whole build will really be one of those where we can go through, try a few different things, and if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But we're going to be learning things, and I guarantee you we'll take something different away from this, even if it's something you weren't expecting to take away from it. You know what I mean? That's where we're adding in weird things, doing strange things, where it really does help us a lot. So let's go back in here. And by the way, this episode, we're not going to get the top piece on. The top piece is going to be a good piece, but not right now. What we're going to do right now is purely the inside. And from the top here, yeah, that's kind of interesting. You know what? I could even take the flat colors, the flat kind of terracotta blocks and those sorts of things. I can handle that. I think I can't really get these in to work. I think it's just a little bit too busy. You've got your rounder sort of textures there, and then you've got these as well. So I don't think that will work too well for us. But let's try some of these. A bit of the black, which is actually one of the few times as well where the black not being black is quite useful to us. There we go. And oh, there's a darker. No, is that the gray? And yeah, we want the gray first. Because normally with the terracotta, it's always a pain in the butt because it's always got the black is actually brown, and then all the other colors don't really make sense, but this one does. So that's great. Let's try this in. Layered. Like that. Yeah, I think this could work. Kind of like in a mesa biome, really. When you have a look at the mesa biome and it's got the different layers on it, it's a similar sort of thing over here, look-wise. Concept-wise, sort of different, but I guess there would be situations. But I think what I'll do is I'll go ahead and get this bottom layer all pulled across there, and then we can also go and add in a few other things. For instance, I'm going to be putting some trees and stuff that would have been chopped down on the top there. So maybe getting in roots in here, for instance, something like some roots coming down from here, maybe pulling it across there, get rid of that one, pop it in there. That could work, just to break it up even more than what we had before. It also means we can break up some of these hard edges like that. And maybe something along those lines. Let's just step back real fast. But that's the logic behind it, at least, is just to try and, yeah, get this place to look a bit more, kind of like a grotto, I guess, but a bit different. It's just purely meant to be a spot that people don't actually come down, but it exists. And also, I'm just thinking, having a little flower right where the light comes down would be great. Maybe not the orchids, because we're going to use them as an underground flower. There you have it, and I think it's definitely turning out very, very well. The things that I've done here was try and get a bit of the cyan, which obviously is realistically gray. The gray to kind of merge in at the top there. So when we get these big pieces hanging down here, these stalactite sort of things, they'll just kind of blend in very well. I think they'll work very, very well. Besides that, also, I've gone ahead and I've added in all of the sediment around here. Look at that, all the way. With the few places where rock has fallen over, there's a bit of stuff we'll have to go through to try and get that to work in a little bit better, but it's really not a big deal. The only pieces that kind of look weird is, for instance, here, where we've got a slab on top of those, but we'll work out a good way of doing them. And of course, we'll eventually get this water running all the way from here, where it is, through a big tunnel to where it's come from, which will be super awesome, coming down here, filling up this area as if it fills up and fills down. Now, there's a thing that I'm trying to work out, and that's on how to get this color just to have a little bit more red in it. This, in terms of the area, not the color. The area, I want it to have a little bit more red, or maybe a pink, or something like that. But I don't want to go ahead and use flowers, so if you guys have a great idea for how we can maybe work in a little bit of red in here, not like a ruby type red I'm talking about, like redstone, I'm talking about just a general bit of red, because it's very dull. It's got the grays, the browns, the dull green because of the biome we're in. So maybe if we can work in some way or another, a little bit of red, I think that could work in quite well and just liven this area up. In my mind, this area is quite a bit more lively. You know what? I've just got the idea. I've got the idea that we need for a little bit more red. But I'm sure this probably won't be the only way of doing it. But yeah. We've got a way. We've got plans. We can do this. There we go. Alright. No, come on. This has been happening. Some days it happens well, some days it doesn't. But when you jump with your elytra, try and activate it, and it just doesn't activate for some reason. But today, yeah, today's been one of those off days for it for some reason, but that's fine. We still get around, and this should be dark enough, I'd imagine. Yeah, to get a bit of that in there. Let's have a look at this, and I also want to put some brown mushrooms down as well. Okay. That's actually pretty good. That's actually very, very good considering it just adds a little bit of a red touch to it, which just livens the area up. So little, but so much, realistically. Yeah, that is perfect. I'm actually very happy with this. I'm excited to try and get this top roof in, where we'll have a little bit of light shining down. I want to see what your guys' ideas are for what we do on the top. I'm thinking right now, a rock with trees, a little bit of light shining through the rock, as if you can't really enter it, but you can kind of see through. That'll be great. And maybe a well could work, but maybe it won't. I don't know. Tell me what you think. But for today, guys, I think that will be the episode. Thank you very much for joining me. I've had a blast. Busy building this stuff. I think it's very, very fun. Changing things up a slight bit from the farm, but trying to tie it in together. I think it's going great. So thank you very much for joining me, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.